what is the likely future for exchange data centers in New Jersey, given the possible transaction tax?
Yeah, that's the kind of topic du jour at the moment. So those of you who are not aware of this, is the New Jersey government proposed a financial transaction tax, whereby they would tax every trade that's done in New Jersey, which means, like I said earlier in this podcast, every single U.S. equities trade is done in New Jersey. Most asset classes actually are in those same data centers as well, like options and futures, but just equities, to stick to our knitting here, is there's a proposed transaction tax, and the original proposal was kind of insane. It was a huge amount. Tax goes back to the broker. Broker's tax goes back to the institutional investor, goes back to the mom and pop on the street. Like the exchanges, it's not that we're just like collecting pots of gold every day, can't sustain a tax like that. So what we've tried to do is, in talking to and by the way, I don't want to appear anywhere near insensitive. It has been a very difficult year for a lot of states, and particularly New Jersey has had a lot of problems with COVID, and I can completely understand why they would try and seek some tax. So what I would say from the data center standpoint, yes, there's a lot of posturing where the New York Stock Exchange ran their Chicago Stock Exchange out of Chicago for a week. NASDAQ run one of their exchanges out of Chicago, because the funny thing is, all of us, every single U.S. equities exchange, our disaster recovery is all in the same building in Chicago, 350 East Cermak.
Actually, this whole COVID thing, I mean, just talk us through it. What's it been like as president of IEX, trying to do both your functions and keeping the whole exchange running through what has been an amazing time?
Yeah, I will say this. So I guess it was Monday, March 16th is when it really hit the fan, if you will. And that week, as I talked to like brokers and other exchange executives, that was the most operationally tough week. So I think it's like us, like everyone else, and I think like every industry, or like even my kids with school, everybody has evolved remarkably well. And now when I look at it 7 months later, a bunch of us chose to come back to the office because we liked the interaction of the office, not having to hop on a minimum 15-minute Zoom to ask a quick question. But I will tell you, we can absolutely run this venue, and I'm speaking for all my competitors, without being in the office. There really is no need to be in the office. I don't think you would want to do that permanently. I wouldn't choose to work in a job where I was 100% remote, but all the system worked. And I think we take a lot of pride in that. And I'm also very happy to see that our competitors didn't have any issues there. It would have been a disaster if some exchanges were experiencing troubles during that volatility.
What's happening in the general all-round development of how markets are likely to change in the near future?
Yeah, it's an interesting time. So again, when you have a new president, whether the president was Trump again or whether it's Biden now, the SEC have turnover. So the SEC that we interact with, the division is trading and markets, but there's also the commissioners. Jay Clayton will be leaving the SEC. So who's the new commissioner that comes in? And why I say that is the last 4 years have been pretty interesting in that I don't think we've ever had a regime within the SEC so fixated in a positive way on market structure reform. So a lot of times I think the regulators are sort of made fun of. They're chasing baddies and Porsches and they're on bicycles and all these other things that they say about them. But I will say the SEC over the past like 8 years, I'd say that regime has become more and more progressive. And I think having someone like Brett Redfern as head of trading and markets, someone who actually worked on a trading desk, that was a smart move. I don't know who the next head of trading and markets will be, or who will be the commissioner of the SEC. And the fact that the regulators are comfortable and we're comfortable in approving all of those things, I think sort of leads the way for that level of innovation. So when people say, oh, can things get any faster? Things can always get faster. Latency can always be eked out. But I think now the exchanges, and it's like I said at the beginning of this interview, we started an exchange because we realized to address some of these issues, you needed to be at the center of the ecosystem. And I think that's where technology is going.